Happy Friday the 13th, in October for the first time since 2006, which as of this filming of 2017 has been 11 years. That calls for a special celebration, or an occasion, or whatever. So I decided to count down the top 10 Friday the 13th movies, because there's 10 in the series, because I'm not including Freddy vs. Jason as a standalone crossover film, nor am I including the reboot, because it's just not fair.
Jason Takes Manhattan is almost universally regarded as the worst in this series. Despite being the most expensive at the time, it looks the most cheaply done. Yes, even cheaper than the original film that cost $500,000. It's basically Jason on a boat. The effects are horrendously laughable. And then you have Jason X, which despite some decent acting from Canadian actress Lexa Doig and Peter Mensah, best known for Spartacus, the film, it's a parody and it's funny the first time you watch it, and then the second time it's not funny anymore. Jason is a cyborg, there's some interesting creative kills in the film, but overall very dated and it will just be forgotten in a trash heap through time.
Damn it. Friday the 13th Part 3 was billed in 3D, and that's why a lot of the deaths are cartoony when you watch them in not 3D. I have nothing good to say about this film. There's a note where this is the first film, spoilers, where Jason actually uses the hockey mask. And that's it. Friday the 13th Part 2, I don't think it's a good film. Now, hear me out. I don't think most of the films in the series are good, but hear me out. Basically, for an 86-minute runtime, or in that neighborhood, you don't really see a legitimate death scene on screen until almost an hour in. And I'm sorry, but the character development, the dialogue, the story, they're all poor. So the fact that you wait an hour, to see a slasher film really get going when it's 86 minutes long, it's boring. Oh, how you doing? So a new beginning. I'm not gonna trash it because spoilers. Jason's not the killer. It's just a bland film in my opinion. I think the dialogue is really poor. I think the story is... It's just not something I care about. And dedicated fans don't like it. The box office was not that great, so... yeah. So Jason Goes to Hell, a lot of fans give it hate. I think it's a Halloween 3 situation where, on its merits, the film is objectively pretty good. Actually, the death scenes are some of the best in the whole franchise. This was the first film taken over by New Line Cinema, and it's such an upgrade over Jason Takes Manhattan, but also some of the previous Friday the 13th movies. Yeah, the story's a little zany, but, I mean, do you really watch Friday the 13th movies for the story? And the characters are actually not that bad. The acting's not that bad, which is, a change of pace for that franchise. So, yeah. Haters be hating. Friday the 13th, The New Blood is also nicknamed Carrie vs. Jason, which I don't have a problem with, because if you're going to fight Jason physically, you're going to be at a disadvantage. So why not have a protagonist that attacks Jason from a distance? I think what really harms this movie is a lot of the death scenes, for some reason, in that particular year, were heavily edited. So that takes away from the movie. But the last 20 minutes are just really nice. I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen the movie. And then, of course, we have the original. Well, first of all, the box office. Let's just start with the success, regardless of the quality of the film. I think it is what it is. It was made for $500,000, which even for 1980 was pretty low. But the box office, adjusted for inflation, is still the highest grossing film in the series. And you can't help but like the originality of it with regards to, spoilers, the mother, and her explanation for doing it, even though it was a ripoff of Halloween. So the genre is not original, but the storyline is nice. And the death scenes are surprisingly pretty good for such a low-budget film. So we come to the last two Friday the 13th movies. At number 2, drum roll, we're going to have Final Chapter, which honestly lived up to the hype. Perfectly honest, is a solid film in terms of the effects, the quality of it. And then Part 6. And it's funny that the character of Tommy Jarvis, which was played by Corey Feldman in the Final Chapter, they go so well together. I do think the 6th one is better than the Final Chapter because as a standalone film by itself, it's great from start to end. Both movies have pretty decent dialogue for the series, fairly reasonable acting, and again, the effects are great. So there you go. Happy Friday the 13th. The next one, I don't know when it's going to happen. Maybe it's going to be 20 years from now, maybe next year. I haven't checked the schedule. But anyways, have fun. Bye-bye.